6:15. So I think I will call the meeting to order now. Hopefully the others will be joining us shortly, but we have a heavy agenda, so I think we'll go ahead and start. So welcome. It's good to see everybody. Glad you're here for our September meeting. So let me do a roll call as a start. My name is Tony Barrick. I'm co-chair of the commission, and I'd like the other commissioners to introduce themselves first, and then we'll go around with any participants in the meeting, and please, any members of the public, if you'd like to introduce yourselves, we'd love to hear from you. So Deborah, can I turn it over to you?
I am Deborah Telleriette, co-chair of the commission.
Susan Swope, commissioner.
Monroe LaBouisse, commissioner.
Johanna Rasmussen, commissioner.
Karen Huber-Levy, commissioner.
Patrick Norrie, commissioner.
Rebecca Flores, vice chair of administration.
Okay. All right, can we have our other participants introduce themselves? Jehan, maybe we'll start with you. I see you first on my screen.
Hey everyone, Jahan Clark, superintendent probation.
Melanie?
Melanie Stauffer with probation. Nice to see all of you.
Good evening. This is Susan Edizati, Judge, San Mateo's Pureport. Thank you.
Welcome, Judge.
Thank you. Sorry, I have the barking dog in the background here. Let me mute myself.
Let's see, Sharon, I see your name. I don't see you.
Oh, sorry, my picture's not coming up, but I'm Sharon Cho, and I am the supervising attorney of the DA's branch of the juvenile branch.
Great, thank you. Let's see, Melissa, you've joined since we started the commissioner introductions.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and I am a commissioner.
Hi, I'm Roxana, and I am a commissioner.
Hi, my name is Amaya. I'm the Youth Commission liaison.
Hi, Amaya. Would you like to introduce our new commissioner, our new youth commissioner liaison?
Yeah, sure. So this is Alex. He's also a member of the Youth Commission, and he's on the, I think, Health and Wellness Subcommittee. Yep. So yeah.
And a volunteer on Pureport.
Yeah, Pureport, yeah.
Well, great. Welcome. We're glad to have you with us, Alex, and we're happy to welcome both Alex and Amaya as Youth Commission liaisons for the coming year. We look forward to your participation.
Thank you.
Let's see, Armand, I don't think you've introduced yourself. I see you there.
Hi, I'm Armand. I think I'm still technically a volunteer, hopefully soon a commissioner. I'm also a liaison to the Mental Health Commission.
Great. Would anybody else like to introduce themselves? Steve, we didn't hear from you.
Steve Duddy, volunteer, working with the Youth Commission in any way that I can be helpful.
That's it. Wait.
Okay, anyone else?
It's muted.
I know, but they might be introducing themselves.
Introduce yourself.
No, wait.
Somebody want to introduce themselves? I can hear speaking in the background, but I'm not sure who it is.
Not you.
Okay, well, let's move on then. I hope everybody has received a copy of the agenda. I'd like to make one change in the agenda, and that is since Monroe LaBouisse will have to be leaving a little early, we are going to be moving alternatives to incarceration. That's item 6A. We're going to move that up into the agenda under 4, we'll make it 4D. So we'll hear from Monroe twice after the inspection updates. Any other changes in the agenda? Okay, let's move on to the minutes. I've been made aware of a couple typos that I'd like to mention. First of all, on the first page with attendees Zhang Fong is listed as HAS, that of course should be HSA. Armand is listed as a potential youth commissioner, and that take the youth out, that should be potential commissioner. And finally, on the second page, Judge Cadet, we've misspelled her name. It should be CADET. So I apologize for those typos. Or any other comment on the agenda?
I have one clarifying question. The agenda and minutes reflected said that Victor Lecha, Commissioner Lecha, was on the Pureport project, and I just wanted to verify that he was still on that project at the time of the meeting, so we can clarify the notes if he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
Okay. So let's see, when we have the, okay, and he is mentioned there. Okay. So no changes there. Anything else?
Tony, I just wanted to mention on the private defender program.
Yes.
The update 3B, AB 624. At that point, it had just gone to the governor's office for signature.
To the governor's office, okay.
Governor's desk, I think maybe is the right way to say it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. And Susan, you had something?
Yeah, on number 4B, I think it would be a good idea to clarify there are 24 STRTP beds, level beds in San Mateo County.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
There are 24 STRTP level beds in the county. To say there's 24 beds in the county is is a little ambiguous. And on 8C, peer court process, peer court members introduce themselves and the respondent's advocate, one advocate, gives an opening statement. That's how I understood it. Melissa can correct me if I'm wrong there. And under D, restorative plans may include the following: service on the peer court.
May include, okay.
On 8E, I think the cost per youth is estimated to be about $2,833.
Okay.
And under 10A, second bullet, I think there was a lot of youth artwork on the walls of the facility. Is that correct?
No, actually, it was just artwork.
Okay.
Yeah, it was cultural and inspiring artwork.
Okay.
I had one other clarification in that section on the visit to Alameda Juvenile Hall. The last sentence there says the furniture was very cozy and comfortable. And just to clarify, it was the visiting room furniture as opposed to the sleeping room furniture.
Okay. Great. Well, thank everybody for those clarifications. Are there any other? Okay, then we will approve the minutes as corrected. So thank you very much for that. The next item on the agenda is meeting plans for Brown Act compliance. And we've had a couple changes, well, several changes since we met last. Today, I just received something from the county, and it's from the county council. And they say if the commission wants to keep meeting virtually, we'll need to adopt a resolution at our October meeting, finding that meeting in person would be unsafe due to the pandemic. And they've given us a template for this resolution, which would have to be on the agenda and voted on at every meeting that we wanted to keep meeting remotely until AB 361 sunsets in January of 2024. So the good news is we can keep meeting remotely if we'd like to do so. And we'll just, starting next month, have to put this resolution on the agenda to do so. Monroe, you have your hand up.
That was for the minutes. I'll put it down.
Okay. So this is good news for us. We had thought we had to start meeting in person next month, and that is not the case, but we will have to do the appropriate voting and paperwork to move that forward. Okay, unfortunately, item 1G, unfortunately, we do have a resignation. Commissioner Lecce resigned during the month. He's written a letter to commissioners, which I'll read to you. It says, my fellow commissioners, it's with great regret that I inform you of my resignation from the JJDPC. It was a great honor and privilege to serve with you all. Trust me when I say I've not found a commission with more passion for their respective missions than the JJDPC. I felt honored to have been accepted and to accomplish the brief tasks we did on the dashboard and the Pureport subcommittees. However, I had wished to accomplish so much more with you because I too am passionate about the work and the population we serve. Unfortunately, there were other issues within the commission itself that caused me to resign. I've informed the chairs of these issues, and hopefully my exit interview input will guide the commission to a more welcoming, effective, and efficient for whoever replaces me. The resignation is probably for the best, though, as I have started a new position with Gardner Health Services, which would have been more demanding of my time. I wish you all the very best and much success. Thank you for letting me serve beside you. So we received that September 20th. I did have a long conversation with Victor. Obviously, I won't go into the details, but I think it's worth pointing out the things he had in mind when he said we could be more welcoming, effective, and efficient. He mentioned, first of all, that we should be really clear and realistic about the amount of time that we are expecting commissioners to serve, with the amount of time we expect them to spend doing commission work, so as not to discourage full-time workers from joining the commission. So that was one area. The second area, he said that we pride ourselves in being a collaborative organization, which I think we are, but he said the collaborative processes he felt could be employed more consistently. And finally, he talked about creating a more welcoming environment with more focused and productive conversations and less gossiping among commissioners. So these are all good points. I think we all ought to take heed and pay attention going forward, and we'll certainly try to do that in development of our projects and our work. So that is that. We had no oral communications that I'm aware of, so let's go on to the updates. Judge Edizade, would you like to begin?
Yes, thank you. My dog was barking, so I had to close the door. Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see everybody. Yes, my name is Judge Susan Edizade, and I don't have a lot to report, except that I understand that Judge Jakubowski introduced you to one of our newly appointed judges, Judge Shanahi Cadet, C-A-D-E-T. She's one of 4 recently appointed judges to our bench, so we now have no openings on the judicial front. So I'm pleased to say that, because it means we have lots of judges and there's lots of work to do. Sorry, that's my clock going off now. We anticipate that Judge Cadet will be assigned to the juvenile division, only because she is training with us and has been training with us since August. However, our presiding judge has not issued his assignment order yet. That normally comes out in October, and those assignments are usually effective for January. So I'm hopeful that, reading the tea leaves, and she's training with us and has been since August, that she will continue to do so through the end of the year, and hopefully will be assigned to the juvenile division starting in January, and then Judge Jakubowski will transition out. She's been with us for a little over 3 years. So it's been a real pleasure working and training with Judge Cadet every day. That's about all I have to share. Unless people had some questions, I'm happy to try and answer them if I could. All right, no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Edizade, appreciate it.
Pleasure, thank you.
The next item is from Private Defender Reyes, and he's not able to be with us tonight, but he did send a report that I will read to you. He said the governor signed AB 624 into law, and it will become effective on January 1st, 2022. The bill creates the immediate right to appeal a juvenile court's transferring a youth to an adult court. The bill fixes the inadequacy in the current law, where for over 40 years, the most consequential decisions a juvenile court could make was not subject to appropriate review. So he wanted to bring everybody up to speed on that. And that was all that I heard from Ron. So if there are any questions about that, if you can send them to me and I will pass them along to him. Okay, let's turn to the district attorney's office. Sharon Cho, would you like to update
Hey
us?
everyone, I'm sorry that my picture isn't coming up, but I don't have any update, but I'm just glad to be here and answer any questions if anyone has any.
Hey, I have a question for you, Sharon. So we've been doing research into chronic absenteeism, and it's my understanding that the DA's office does not file charges on truancy issues. Is that right?
Right, I have not had a single truancy case come across my desk.
So does that mean, does anybody file? Like, are SARB sending charges to the DA's office at all, or is that not happening either?
We are not getting any submissions for truancy cases.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to behavioral health and recovery services. Let's see, I didn't see Aurora here. Okay, I guess we have no report tonight. How about from the County Office of Education? I didn't hear from Janae. Did anybody? Okay. No report.
I have spoken with her and she was pointing out that there have been some real difficulties as people come back in person to school, that there have been a fair number of fights and other problems, and youth have forgotten how to act in class, it appears. So some of the school districts are having rough going.
Okay, thanks, Susan. Okay, let's move on then to probation. Janae and Melanie, how would you like to?
Hi, everyone. Yes, so I have some updates for you. And before I forget, Roxana, you had asked for more demographic information. So I'm going to open up the chat and I'm going to try to post the local action plan. I think we've talked about this before. It's 95 pages worth of information, but it's the local action plan for a 5-year period of time. And so if you go to page, I want to say it's page 18, there's a map on there that shows you the areas where most of our families reside and are receiving services. There's a lot of other great information in there as well. And it's still pretty, I would say, I think the data is from 2019. I'd say it's for the most part pretty accurate. It'll be interesting to see if there have been any significant changes when we receive the new local action plan. In terms of numbers, no youth in placement. We're still 0 for placement, so we feel really good about that. We have 11 youth who are receiving AB 12 services, 5 youth who are still in DJJ. We anticipate that 1 is going to be paroled next month and returning home. We have 3 informal contracts in the Assessment Center Investigations Unit, and all 3 of those are 6-month informal contracts. Those are not court ordered. Melissa, do you want to ask your question now, or do you want me to wait? Oh, okay. We have 18 DPOs. We had a couple of retirements, and I think I always end up reporting out the youth in the Youth Services Center. We have 14 kids in the Youth Services Center, and I think 2 in camp. And then 148 youth who are on probation, and that includes 6 months of informal probation, so general and intensive and specialty cases. And we have 72 youth in the assessment center investigations unit going through the intake and initial court process. And I know Paul, doesn't seem like Paul's here today, but I usually report out that we have
Yes, I'm here.
61%. Oh, Paul, there you are. Okay. 61% of our youth are Hispanic Latino descent. I think that's it. Any questions?
Thank you.
So I had a question. So the LCAP report, I read through it not that long ago, and I was looking for recidivism data. Would that be in the LCAP report, or where could I find that? The last time I could see something published was 2014, which I just found online by doing a search.
Yeah, take a look at the local action plan that I just put in the chat. And it should, yes, I looked at it today. There are should be some recidivism information in there.
Okay.
You and I are going to meet, I think, next week.
Yeah, we can talk then.
I can probably look some up for you as well, see if I can help with that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And that's it for me. Any questions?
One question. I don't think you reported on the electronic monitoring program.
Oh, did I forget our EMP kids? Okay, let me take a quick look.
Okay.
I have one for institutions. Like Melanie said, we actually have 15 in custody now, 14 males, 1 female. We just had our inspection last week, so I'm sure we'll be getting the report soon. It was a very nice visit. And as far as our operations, everything continues to be the same as far as for school. We are still on hold for visits and outside service providers to come in until October 4th, once we get off of the watch list. And once the 4th comes, we'll resume in person for those service providers that are suited to come in person. And for EMP, we currently have 12. Any questions?
I have one question. How you doing, Ms. Clark?
Hi, Paul.
And this is for probation and as far as the last probation as well. Do we track when a foster kid commits a crime and is placed in custody and on probation? Do we know how many kids that are a part of the system impacted that are foster children?
Melanie might be able to give you a better answer. We don't necessarily track specifically for foster kids. I'm sure that we're able to get those numbers just because, probation and our officers know who's on probation, but I know we don't specifically track for foster youth. Melanie, unless you know something that I don't.
Thank you so much, Ms. Clark. You're the best.
No problem.
She is, I agree. If we had youth in placement, we would be able to track them, and we in our case management system, we're able to see when they have a probation violation or a new law violation. But currently we don't have any kids in placement right now. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh, no, the question was, and I might have posed that wrong. I apologize. The question was, if a foster kid commits a crime, do we track that? Like, is it documented that this is one of our foster children that maybe, Judge Edisati placed in foster care somewhere, and then the kid gets in trouble and is incarcerated? Would that be documented that we have a foster kid here in custody, or is that tracked in any type of way?
We would have to, so I understand your question. Yes, it would be tracked in terms of the information would be in our case management system, and the youth would have to have a pending case with the court. So we have had kids come into the system and then the case is dismissed and they're released. But in terms of Is that like a data point that we track? I would say no.
Okay, thank you so much. That pretty much answers that question. I just wanted to know if we are tracking that, because that would be recidivism as well. They're part of the criminal justice system. And so if they do incarcerate, then they should be, that should be documented, just like desegregating a lot of the data. And that's why I'm bringing it up. Maybe we can track the foster children a little bit more closely. So if they do recidivate and end up incarcerated, that we can find out like maybe how we can help them or curb that in the future as well. Thank you so much. You're both awesome.
And I think they're, for those particular youth, they are, given services, and probation works alongside if they have a social worker. So, and they are offered services and things like that. But I think we don't just specifically track those particular youth and have it, to report out on.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
You're welcome. Roxanne, I see your hand.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Clark. I think this is a question I believe just for clarification on my end. I'm wondering, does San Mateo County have in every police department a diversion program for juveniles, for minors? Is that correct?
They do not.
Okay, they do not. Okay. And how closely do you guys work with the police departments with the diversion program? Do you guys have are you guys in contact with those police departments, or is that separate? I don't know who can answer my question. I'm not sure.
Probably Melanie. I do know we have an officer, one officer,
Yes.
so she can give you more detail.
We have a really nice relationship with San Mateo PD because we assisted with their pilot program. And so we do have a probation officer who is assigned to that program, and she's a liaison for our department. And so their program is very robust. I know that when Mannheimer was the chief, she wanted to see that pilot program extend out to all police departments within the county. And unfortunately, I don't think that really happened. So it's my understanding that not every, and Susan, sorry, you might want to say something. It's my understanding that not every police department has a diversion program. I could be wrong, things may have changed, but I don't think that every police department has a diversion program.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
Only 2 police departments in the county have diversion programs, Redwood City and the city of San Mateo. The other diversion programs are probation's diversion program and the sheriff's department. And that's all that we've been able to find.
Got it. Thank you for that.
Susan, we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you with your microphone. I don't know if there's an adjustment you can make.
My hand is up, but it's hard to see with my background. I'm going to have to fix that.
Okay, Johanna, go ahead.
Thank Jihan. We had our inspection on Friday, and she was so gracious. I was there until 6:30 that night, and she was just so welcoming, and everything went so well. We got to talk to every youth in the facility. So I just wanted to express our appreciation for our great visit that we had last week.
Thanks. Okay, any other questions or comments for probation? Great. Thank you both very much. The next item on the agenda is HSA and John Fong. And Deborah, could you report out on the message you got from him? I thought I got it, but I made a mistake. I did not.
Yeah,
you have it in front of you?
I can get it in front of me, just one moment.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry, I thought I had it and I did not.
I could ask a question on probation, one more.
Sounds great.
So I think it's so awesome that probation gave a staff member to the San Mateo services. And I also think it's awesome that there was a time in the past to make that more universal. Do you know, and you may not know, what the funding circumstances are for that one-time probation person? Is it being paid for by San Mateo City, or is it being paid by probation?
That is a really good question. I think it might be a shared.
Okay.
Yeah, it might be shared, but I don't know. Not 100% sure.
Okay.
Thanks. Deborah, if you can't find it now, I put you on the spot. We'll come back.
No, I've got it. Sorry, the message is encrypted, so I have to get a passcode each time I look at it. So he apologizes for not being able to join us tonight. They're in the middle of their accreditation process. So it's youth and out of home placement by ethnicity: Asian Pacific Islander 15%, Black 14, Latino 48.6, unknown 0.6, white 21.8. Youth in short-term residential therapeutic programs, STRTPs by race and ethnicity. Black is 50%, Latino is 16.7, white 33.3. There are only 6 people. Youth in 241.1 status by race and ethnicity. There are 14, and I don't know what 241.1 status is, but the breakdown is 7% Asian Pacific Islander, 14% Black, 57% Latino, 21% white. And that was it. Oh, here, sorry. More general statistics as of September 1st, 2021, there were 179 youth in placement. 42.5% of our youth are placed out of county, with 16% outside of the contiguous Bay Area counties. No youth are placed in locked facility or out of state. We have 34% of youth placed with relatives.
Deborah, could you send that to me, please?
I'm sorry, I can't forward this, but I will make sure to copy it down and send it to you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Deborah. Sorry for putting you on the spot there.
No worries.
Appreciate it. Okay, any other questions for the updates we've heard, or we'll move on to an important part of our agenda, and that's our inspection updates. Okay, Rebecca, would you just start us off telling us the status?
Sure. And I apologize for the background noise. So both Camp and Canyon Oaks inspections are complete. So we'll be reviewing those and updating those and voting on those today. YSC had their inspection on Friday. So we still need to, put together the report and write that up. And the school inspections also have been scheduled for September 30th and September, I believe the other one is September 23rd. So that one already happened. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you. So we'll turn to the 2 inspections reports that we have now to vote on. So I'd like, starting with Camp, Deborah, if you could kind of brief us on the findings, and then we'll get any questions and make a motion to approve those. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to read the inspection reports. Both Camp and Canyon Oaks are in your package. So to start us off with Camp, Deborah.
Sure. Commissioner Barrick and Commissioner Enriquez and I visited the facility on July 21st. We had a great visit. It was just great all the way around. ISM Mayberry and ISM Romero were there to greet us and sat with us. And we went through a lot of the documentation, answered most of our questions. And then we went with the girls and had lunch with them. The girls were very, very, had nothing but great things to say about the staff. And I say one of the highlights for me was the relationship that the staff had with the youth, that they really appeared to be mentoring the girls and acting as counselors to them, and going out of their way, because there's not that many girls there, to find things of interest for them during the time of COVID, to make them happy, to appeal to their specific needs and interests. They even held a quinceañera for one of the girls, whose family couldn't do it. She wasn't able to get to her family because of COVID. So that was really nice. Let's see. Recommendations in general, the facility was very clean, and the staff had taken COVID-19 precautions very seriously. We did notice that the gym was a little dirty, and we mentioned that in our recommendations. We recommended having it cleaned, and some of the desks appeared a little dirty as well. Foods continues to be an issue, not so much in quantity for the girls, but in quality. They don't necessarily like the food coming from the sheriff's department, but the staff's doing all they can to make it as edible as possible. One of the things we did notice when we were there is there is an abundance of food available for them if they don't like the meal. You know, in the kitchen itself, there are granola bars and fruit and raisins and other things. And the girls have access to, to baking. They have their own garden there. They collect their own eggs. So they do a fair amount of their own meal prep as well. We noticed that their inspection, the manuals they hand out to the parents were a little out of date, some of the materials. So we asked them to kind of update that a little bit. There were two major issues from last year's report. One was the fact that the girls were still sleeping at the YSC because of the low numbers, and also continues to be an issue that their parking lot is so very small. We were very fortunate when I asked them to review our report last month. They took it upon themselves not only to review it, but actually to respond to all of our recommendations and got back to me. So those were also included in your packet, but just to highlight what they did do. Scroll to the end here. Since we visited, they deep cleaned the gym mats and vents, and have implemented a cleaning protocol for cleaning and disinfecting the gym after the gym is used. All the desks were cleaned. The wear was just from the lead pencils. The dorms were recently painted a couple of years ago. They said the dorm rooms the walls were intentionally left blank so they could decorate them for the holidays, but they would see about maybe being able to decorate it more throughout the year so they looked less bare. They talked about how they're working with the sheriff's office to improve the meals, every time a complaint comes in, which is actually very well documented in their grievance forms. They have, one of the things we had suggested is that they also create a quiet room like the YSC has done, and they said they were definitely planning on doing that, and that they would let the girls have input on what kind of a room they wanted and how they wanted it decorated and what they needed. They have updated all of their manuals and handouts. And there was a note in there about needing more vocational options, and they responded that they are in the process of completing an MOU to include a culinary program for institutions in Camp Kemp. So the program will allow the youth to earn their food handler certificate. And right now they do have a cognitive skills class that incorporates financial education, budgeting, and money management. I think we had hoped that they could even enhance that a little bit more, but it's great that they have those. They are working to get the culinary program back up and running as soon as they can. And they addressed the issues that came up last year, which is, they can't really do anything about the girls sleeping at the YSC, given the budgetary constraints. They did ask for money last year or the year before for money for the parking lot, and they were denied. So that continues to be an issue, but they certainly are aware of the issue and are doing everything they can to address it. Are there any questions? Well, I guess I should say, and I should have said this in the commendation section, because I hold Camp Kemp out as just a wonderful model for other programs. It's all about healing and providing services, complete wraparound services to the girls, and they feel it. And in speaking with them, I really got the sense that they felt well cared for. They knew that everybody, even sometimes when they didn't agree with the staff, they said, they knew that they were doing their jobs and they were doing what was best for them. So they had a great understanding and respect for the process, even if something they didn't always agree with it. And I thought that was a great telling sign that they were so complimentary of the staff and the program itself. That's it.
Thanks.
Any questions?
Johanna, do you have your hand up?
I do, thank you. Two things. One, I noticed that in the report, it said there was 32 serious incidents and there was 0 incidents in the prior 2 years. And I'm wondering if that accounts for maybe a delay in reporting because of COVID. I mean, was there actually, was the 32 2 years put together, or was that just in this year? It seemed kind of high because we had no reports in 2 years prior. And then the other question was about pillows. Do they actually have pillows there?
it was my understanding that they do have pillows there, and we had asked if they could bring them to the YSC, and they said they would look into it for us. Regarding the grievances, they were all from the current year. There were a bunch that came about when they switched over to the sheriff's program for food. So the, like on one day, like the breakfast arrived completely inedible. So on that day, there might've been 7 complaints, right? So it was nothing serious, nothing big, but there were, a couple of days where everybody said, this isn't working for us. We need help.
I apologize. I may have misspoken. I meant serious incidents, like use of force, serious incidents. I read that there was 32.
I'd have to go back. It's been so long. I don't remember all of them. Tony?
I'm surprised at that number. I'm sorry, I don't have the report in front of me either, but that seems high.
Yeah, that seems very high for camp.
I think that must have been an error, but we will get back to you on that.
What
Doesn't make
page
sense
is
to me
that?
now.
Oh, here it is. So it just says 30 serious incidents reports. 32 incident reports were reviewed from 20 to 21. Incident reports covered contraband, verbal disagreements between youth, mental health, self-harm, disruptive behavior, AWOL on home pass, etc. No physical violence reports.
Thank you, Melissa. There, and I believe, I'll double check the number, but I believe that's correct, because every time a girl has a dispute or it talks about, I don't feel good, I might hurt myself, or, it was actually, I looked at it as actually a good thing. And they said they encourage people to write up those reports because it means that people are addressing the mental health needs of the youth, right? So if a girl says, I'm feeling really, really down, I'm really despondent, they will write that up and say that they have, called in mental health BHRS and that they are addressing it, and then there'll be a follow-up for it. So when we spoke to them, they looked at, the ISM said that it was they were happy that the girls felt like that they could write up those things, that they could talk about those things, and that they could actually track what was happening with the girls ongoing.
I agree. That's a good thing. The number was so different. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's different than the YSC in that it could be like the girls were shouting at each other, right? It doesn't it's not a physical fight or a dangerous situation. It means that there was a disturbance of some sort. It's a slightly different take on an incident report than the ones I reviewed when I was reviewing the YSC ones.
Thanks.
But we will double check that number.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Did I hear correctly when we said that the youth at the YSC do not have pillows? Because I had a pillow in Pelican Bay shoe where I was a level 5 for 12 years. And I'm wondering how that may possibly endanger the safety and security of the institution at the YSC.
Paul, I think that's a good question. Can we postpone that for a while and finish up on the Camp report and come back to that?
Of course, absolutely. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Deborah, if there are no other questions, would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I move that we double check on that number that Commissioner Rasmussen's questioned, and then move forward with accepting this report.
Okay, we don't need a second since it was a committee. So is there any further discussion?
Thanks, Tony and Deborah. I think that I just want to add quickly to the inspection I experienced. I really enjoyed going to Camp. It's not the first time that I've been there, and I was obviously there when I was a young girl. So I really want to just give a lot of grace and a lot of I guess gratitude to all the staff that are very dedicated at the camp. They've been there working for more than 20 years, I believe, and they've been knowing me ever since I was a young girl. So it's cool to be back and see all the suites. So the youth are well taken care of there. And it's very, very nice to see the programs that are still there over all these years. All the trauma-informed care, all the programs like RTS, AYP. And I'm just very thankful for Fly as well, for having Fly at this site as well. And I'm just very, it was very nice to see the staff know their site very well. They know a lot about, you know, how to run the camp, and that really speaks a lot, you know, of their dedication and commitment to the work that they're doing there. Not only do they, you know, they're there just for a job, but they're also there because they have a passion, and they actually take upon other small projects like, you know, this financial education, you know, for example, a curriculum, they're given that, and they don't have to do it, but they do it because they have time, or maybe they want to teach the students. So, you know, there has been occasions where they actually come out and they find creative ways to bring more extracurricular to the youth while being there. So I just wanted to add that. But other than that, thanks, Jehan, for having an awesome team at Camp. And thanks, Deborah and Tony, for just being part of that inspection. Thanks.
Thanks, Roxana. Any other questions? Okay, let's take the vote then. Let's start with you, Rebecca. Do you vote to approve this report?
Yes, I approve.
Melissa Wilson,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Roxana,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Suffolk,
Yes.
Johanna,
Yes.
Susan Swoop,
Yes.
Austin Willis. Is Austin here?
Yes.
Okay, yes, good.
And yes.
Okay, great. And Deborah?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we have unanimously approved the camp inspection report. So thank you for leading that effort, Deborah. Okay, let's move on to Canyon Oaks. Monroe, would you like to again brief us quickly on the report? Hopefully we've all read it, and then we can ask questions and make a motion to approve.
Sure. I think that Roxana's comments are actually a good transition to a report on Canyon Oaks. One thing that was really, I think, revealing about Canyon Oaks is the tenure of the director and the co-director, and also the resident counselors. They've all been at Canyon Oaks for decades on average. So it's another dedicated staff. And overall, Canyon Oaks is a professionally run, caring institution, has fewer than 10 at this point youth living there. It's licensed as a SDRTP, and the ratio of clinicians and RCs to youth is very good. As Victoria Valencia, the director, told us, the staff often outnumber the number of youth there. So I think, like Camp Kemp, we're lucky in the county to have a facility like this that is available for youth. And I think my only other, comments on the inspection itself was that we did a walkthrough. Overall, the facility is well kept. We got a lot of our questions answered from Director Valencia. We were unable to spend very much time with youth. When we visited in person, they were in school, and when we kind of came back for follow-up questions, we did it over Zoom. We got a chance to visit with one youth who was a very satisfied client. But I guess that's the only, not really a caveat, but observation on the inspection itself, which is that we didn't actually get to spend very much time with youth there. And we're hoping that the inspectors that go back to inspect the school at Canyon Oaks will have that opportunity to spend more time with youth themselves. I think that covers it. Susan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, at the time we visited, there were only 6 youth who were supposed to be in residence, and 2 of them were in the hospital on 5150s. So there weren't that many to talk to.
Right, and because sorry, Susan, were you still talking? Oh no, okay. I'll jump back in and say, because of the mission of Canyon Oaks, which is to serve youth with significant mental health issues, I think that having to report a 5150 incident and having youth that are getting the medical attention that is required for that is not that uncommon at Canyon Oaks. So I think the fact that 2 were in the hospital on 5150s was it was not alarming to me or unusual, but it is it does happen. And for example, we asked the director, were there situations during the year where law enforcement might have had to come to the facility, and her answer was only for 5150s, because it's a requirement that the law enforcement be called for those. Yeah, Susan, if you don't have anything else to add, then then I guess we can open it to questions.
Well, we can move. I move acceptance of the Canyon Oaks group home inspection. Now it's
I
on
have
the
a quick
floor.
question regarding the pickup of youth by law enforcement who are medically and mentally impaired. Is there a reason why we have police officers picking up youth who are mentally impaired? Is there a better place or a better way to transport them rather than the back of a police car? And is there handcuffs at any point or chains used to transfer this youth who is mentally impaired to a hospital?
So Paul, the requirement to call law enforcement does not necessarily mean that the youth is transported away from the facility or to the hospital in a police car. Probably some of our partners could talk to this more specifically than I can, but it is required by law for a situation, and for anyone that is not aware, 5150 is a situation where a youth may cause harm to themselves or to others, and in those situations, it is required because there is potential harm for law enforcement to be present. But I believe that if a youth after that, like for example, the staff believe that they may harm themselves, they may be taken to the hospital for observation, but they don't necessarily do that in a police car. There may be more comfortable way to get them to the hospital.
Paul, I think that's a excellent question, and I think somebody should follow up and just clarify that, because of your point about a child who is already traumatized, having contact with police. When I was there on inspection, I guess it was 2 years ago, I saw a child taken out of school for being disruptive and brought over to the youth service center by a police officer. And I saw the disruption, so I know what, the level, and in that case, without full context, it didn't seem like a good system.
That's outdated. That is outdated. Scared straight, attack therapy, that is definitely outdated. We don't threaten youth anymore. That is not evidence-based. So thank you for that.
I had a comment on the report just for accuracy before voting, which is that the school inspection team has Austin, Willis, and Southwick Nori on it, and Victor Lecha off it. Victor withdrew from the commission before we did any school inspection work.
Okay, we can change that and follow up also with Canyon Oaks on the question about use of law enforcement.
Awesome.
I also wanted to add, I was with Melissa and Sadvik for the inspection, the school inspection, and I just wanted to add for everyone that there were 7 students attending school when we were there last week, and we did have an opportunity to interview 5 of them. So
Excellent.
yeah, it's great.
Thanks, Karen. Roxana, you had another question?
Yeah, just something quickly to add. I remember a couple years ago, because I also used to work with AYP in this county, teaching at Canyon Oaks. I do remember that sometimes, there are youth who run away, and I'm not sure if you've been to, sorry about that. Not sure if you've been to Canyon Oaks, but it's like all the way, like, very hidden. And sorry about that. Gosh, oh my goodness. Anyways, it's very hidden. So there has been occasions where youth run away, and Canyon Oaks is by the 280 and Edgewood. So it's very dangerous, and it's not like staff could go out there and kind of go hunt for them or look for them. So it's like, that's why those are some occasions when they call law enforcement to kind of look for the youth to make sure that they're safe. And there has been occasions, but I know that even Canyon Oaks folks could even talk about this more, but just to give you some background information, there has been times where, there has been times where youth are in danger, running, and so they could get hit. So it's liability on also the law enforcement. So just wanted to share that something for.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit to that. We did talk about situations where a youth might leave Canyon Oaks. And also, for context, I, as a CASA volunteer, I used to have a case for a kid that was at Canyon Oaks, so was also aware of how they handle that. So, two things. One, Canyon Oaks is not a secure facility. So, if a youth wants to pardon, that's still deliberate.
We've lost you, Monroe.
It is. Oh, no.
Okay, now I hear you.
Do you hear me now? Sorry. I hope my connection's better. Anyway, it's not a secure facility. That's deliberate, and youth may leave. In that case, staff follow them and walk with them. And it is, off of 280, meaning like you take the Edgewood exit off of 280, but it's a good 1.5 miles or 2 away from the exit and down a pretty steep hill. So what's more likely is that a youth may go out onto like a walking trail that is nearby there. So I think, Roxana, in most cases where a youth may leave the facility, staff just go with them and they help calm them down and they bring them back, and they don't need to call law enforcement for that.
Melissa, you had your hand up? No, okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, then we have a motion to approve the Canyon Oaks report. So let's take a voice vote. Commissioner Flores?
Yes, I approve.
Okay. Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bocanegra?
Yes.
Commissioner Enriquez?
Yes.
Commissioner Huber-Levy?
Yes.
Commissioner LeBoyce?
Yes.
Commissioner Nori?
Yes.
Commissioner Rasmussen,
Yes.
Commissioner Swope.
Yes.
Commissioner Willis,
Yes.
Commissioner Telleria,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, that's great. So we will unanimously approve the Canyon Oaks inspection, and we'll get a little bit more information, and perhaps you can report that later at the next meeting, Monroe.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that that we can come back and report on that at the next meeting.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Monroe, since we have you on the phone, but we have important updates on the project for alternatives to incarceration. So would you and Paul like to fill us in?
Yeah, sure. So I hope you can hear me well, and if you can't, I'll try to move to a better spot for my phone. The sort of short update is that after about a year of talking about this with elected officials and supervisors, and we as a commission sent a draft and suggested resolution to the Board of Supervisors, and all the follow-up we've done with supervisors on that. We believe we have enough votes to get a resolution passed at the Board of Supervisors, and it's on the agenda for October 5th. The version of the resolution that will be up for a vote on October 5th is in the agenda packet, and you can see that it's considerably shorter than our original resolution. Two reasons for that. One is that we were advised that normally that much detail and background and data and so forth can go into a board memo and for discussion, and secondly that in order to sort of get at the heart of what we're really trying to do here, which is to have a working group be formed to spend more time to come up with a plan for making changing the institutional environment at the YSC to something that will be hopefully less traumatic and more supportive of youth. That's the heart of what we're trying to do, and so that's essentially what the resolution says. We're feeling pretty good about the fact that we've gotten it this far and it's up for a vote. And usually things will come up for a vote because it's you've already got the 3 votes. So fingers crossed that will actually happen, and we will get this committee formed, and hopefully Paul and I can serve on that and carry this forward. So that's the update. Paul, did I miss anything? Do you want to add anything?
I think were we also talking about the meetings that we've had leading up to this with Deputy Mayor Rick Bonilla?
No, that's I think that's the update on the sort of outreach to elected officials that will come up later. Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, but no, this is just on the resolution on Juvenile Hall that we have coming up for a vote.
Yes, absolutely. No, I think you covered everything with that right there. Great job on that, Monroe.
Well, thank you both, Paul and Monroe, for the great work. This is terrific progress. Are there any questions about this?
Monroe, sorry. Monroe, how did they put a timeline, or have you put a timeline on the project?
So in the resolution itself, Melissa, there isn't a specific timeline on, when this should wrap up or how frequent, reports back to the board should be, et cetera. And I asked, Supervisor Canepa is going to be the sort of lead sponsor on this. And I asked his legislative aide, should we include that in the resolution? And the response I got was that, we'll talk about that in the follow-up. And it's also up to the committee once it's formed to kind of work on how will it operate, how frequently will it meet, that sort of thing. but I think that even though it's not actually in the resolution itself, that the expectation will get set by the supervisors and it'll be clear. So while I would have liked to have had something more specific in the resolution about timing, I still feel pretty comfortable that we've got the right kind of support on the board, and that the all the members of the committee will be held accountable to make sure they get their work done and in a timely way. But if maybe your question was simpler, like how long do you expect this to take, then I think the answer to that is we will see. But and probably a much more involved project, San Francisco took 2 years. And whenever I mentioned that precedent of 2 years that San Francisco's taking, anyone I have spoken to in San Mateo County, including the supervisors, have all said, I certainly hope it takes less time than that. And maybe over the course of the next year, we'll put in the work and come up with a plan.
We're going to be the leaders in California on moving away from those cages. San Mateo rocks.
Karen, you had a question.
Yeah, I just had a clarification, Paul and Monroe. Is this a shift in what we were asking? Because the first resolution seemed to me more directed towards looking at alternatives to the Youth Services Center, but this seems to be looking at making the Youth Services Center more accommodating.
It is and it isn't, Karen. The original draft, actually, I was very deliberate in that draft to, for example, not say that we wanted to close Juvenile Hall as they did in San Francisco, and also to include language in that original draft that said that possibly the solution here is to make changes within our Youth Services Center. And given that there are some very good facilities and programs at the Youth Services Center now, I believe the original resolution referenced this, and so does the current one. Like, for example, really great medical facilities, the gym, the school. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that are quite positive and good in the current Youth Services Center, but there are also institutional elements to the design that haven't been designed and built in the early 2000s that we think need to be updated. So it is different. Like the first resolution also was much broader, right? Like it kind of went after a bigger picture, bigger vision. And I think part of getting to yes on this for 3 votes was to narrow the scope, to be more specific about what it is that we're going to focus on, and then to get the working group together and let the working group take it from there. So depending on the discussion, we can come back to some of these other ideas, but yeah, in order to get to where we've gotten, and we wanted to narrow it as it's written.
Okay, great. Yeah. The process is a learning experience.
Yeah, and I guess I wanted to add one more thing, which is, while we've got Sharon on, and maybe Ron Reyes is on as well, which is, and Judge Etizadi, which is that if you saw the draft of the resolution, it includes the working group is intended to include representatives from all 3 of those groups, and I wanted to thank them for their support on that. And we're looking forward to getting this passed and getting started on the work.
That's great. Thank you, Monroe. Thank you, Paul. All right, if there are no questions, let's move on. The next item on the agenda is the after-school project. And if you recall, in July, Karen presented the findings from that project, and we also distributed the catalog of after-school providers as well as the analysis of school district programs. And at that time, we said in September would come back with a formal report and also a project plan for phase 2. And those are the 2 items that are in your packet. So again, I hope you've had a chance to take a look at them. Nothing has changed. There's just a lot more detail. But let me just quickly summarize the conclusions for you. First of all, we concluded that there were a range of programs available for kids in underserved areas, but there's a definite need for more affordable and accessible programs. 2, that there is new funding coming down the pike through the California Expanded Learning grants. It could be significant. Then, given that we think that there's access to that funding and improvement in programs would be benefit greatly from better collaboration among the school districts and collaboration among CBOs and school districts. So the bottom line for us going into phase 2 is we think there's an opportunity for the JJDPC to advocate for improving the after-school environment. And that would be through informing the public of unmet needs, participating in advocacy groups, and then working with all the stakeholders to help coordinate and leverage information and resources. So those are the basic conclusions. What we'd like to do here is answer any questions and then ask for approval from the commission to distribute that report, number 1, and second of all, approval on the project plan. So let me just go through what the project plan states too, so we can do maybe both of these together. The project plan is in Appendix E, that's the last page. And based on the information I said, the deliverables we expect from that project would be meetings with stakeholders to discuss the basic report, participation in the advocacy groups, and then a report on sources of funding for San Mateo County in the next school year. We've done a lot of work on what's available in the state, and we want to take it down a notch in this next phase. And finally, a report on tracking the after-school programs for the next school year and see how that compared to this prior year that we've reported on. So, okay, a couple questions. Melissa, you had your hand up first, I think.
Yes, Monroe asked me, oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Monroe asked me to ask a 2-part question. The first part of the question is, it sounds like you want the JJDPC to play a coordinator role between groups and districts. Is that true? And should we play that role? That's the first question.
Okay, that's on the project plan.
Yes, yes. The second question is, the report says there's no single person at the county level responsible for extended learning. Why not advocate to create that role for the county?
Okay, Karen, it's up to you and I to try to answer these questions. So why don't you take the one on, why not take on the role of advocating for a position in the county?
I think those are excellent questions. I'll respond like NPR does. And that may well be a result of this next stage of the process. I think there are a lot of different groups, CBOs, people in districts, other nonprofits, advocacy groups who are struggling with this right now. And I think what we want is a little bit of time to get closer to this new funding situation and understand the impact of that in the community. I think, the 2 things that Monroe hit on may very well be what we want to focus on, but I think we need to do a little bit more work. Would you agree, Tony?
Yes, and I would not view the JJDPC as the main coordinator of the various stakeholders. There are advocacy groups doing that, and there is communication among the various stakeholders. But we want to have a seat at the table, and we think we can bring something to the party by bringing stakeholders together and working to coordinate the use and of resources and information.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to add to that, there's a group, Thrive Alliance, and there's another group with Thrive Alliance and Innovate Public Schools, which I know, Roxana, you've had experience with. And we just attended a session right before this meeting where the idea was to bring many of the stakeholders in this space together to talk about, how to collaborate better. So I think we will be a voice, and we are assessing how best to use the information that we have, the impact on the communities that we see from a juvenile justice perspective, and to lend some weight and focus from our area of strength, rather than play a role as a key coordinator.
Susan, you had a question?
Yeah, I just noticed on page 11, you have an item 6, project plan for phase 2, advocacy for fulfilling unmet needs. And it's exactly the same as Appendix E. I would do away with Appendix E and just keep it as part of the report.
Yeah, that's a good point. The reason we put it in there is we knew we wanted to vote on it separately, and that seemed to make it easier, but I think I understand your point. Are there, Roxana?
Yeah, thanks, Tony. I really enjoy reading this this whole after school package. I really enjoy it a lot about education. And I'm very happy to sit on the Innovate board as well, looking and working towards holding, even school districts accountable to when it comes to the money that they're having in their hands. And yet we still see a lot of the students that are not receiving any after school programming due to low staffing, like YMCA. There's a lot of need for after school programs, extended extracurricular stuff, like real hands-on activities, not just like a drop-in child care center, but just like where students are actually learning and growing their brains. So I'm very excited about this whole project. So I just wanted to share that.
Great, thank you.
That's an excellent point, Roxana. And one of the things that came out of this session we just attended was that the issue of staffing is basically at crises level right now. It's horrible across the board for these organizations.
I got a quick question on this educational piece. Do we know if our school districts here monitor foster children that are attending their schools? Do we have like some sort of data on how many foster kids are in our school districts? Just so we can start tracking their how they're doing here in the county, as opposed to beyond county lines, as we've been playing musical chairs with these youth. I'm just like wondering if we do have any data on how many foster kids are attending their schools, and maybe what it's like for them if they've been expelled or having special problems.
Paul, I believe there is, but we can turn to the experts for that. But again, I would like to put that aside for now, if we may, and vote on this report. I also have your question about YSC. I think they're great questions, but I would like to kind of put them on hold until we get through.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Thank you. If we could just make a note of that. Appreciate that, Tony. Thank you.
We will definitely come back to them. Okay, any other comments? Janae, oh, welcome. I'm sorry, I didn't see you earlier on. You're on
That's
mute.
okay. Yeah, sorry. I actually was going to respond to Paul's question, but I can type a quick response in the chat, and then we can pick up the foster youth question in future meetings as you suggested.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, any other questions on the after school report? Okay, I'd like to make a motion then that we approve of this report for distribution, and then we'll vote separately on the phase 2. So let me start with Deborah.
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes, I approve.
Melissa?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Okay. Roxana?
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
let's see, Monroe, did we lose him? I think we did. Okay. Safik,
Yes.
Johanna,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Austin?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes. So all those of us voting voted yes. Appreciate that. Thank you. And now I'd like to make a motion that we accept the project plan for the commission to work on it. And let me just mention, Deborah has volunteered to join Karen and myself on this project. And if there are anybody else who would like to volunteer, would love to hear from you. But for now, I move to accept the project plan going forward for the commission. So Deborah, do you vote to approve?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Roxana?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Safik?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Oops, excuse me. Okay, thank you. Johanna, I skipped you, sorry.
Yes.
Austin?
Yes.
And I do too. Okay, excellent. That also unanimously approved. So we have another project on our to-do list, which is terrific. Okay, let's see, moving on to other project updates.
Excuse me, Tony?
Yes.
I was wondering if we could get an update from Janae since she's joined us.
Yes, that would be terrific.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize for my late entrance into the meeting. So I'm happy to provide a little update on the educational programs of our court and community program. One update is that all of you should know that Sabani Parcells, our long-term principal, has been promoted and she's moving into our HR office. So Shelley Johnson, who has been our assistant principal for the last few years, is stepping into the leadership role. And we've brought on Brad Ostrander, who is our school climate coordinator, and he's working as a half-time administrator as well. And we're excited because he comes with an expertise in the area of school climate and social emotional learning, which is exactly the direction that I know all of you are aware that we're headed. And so we're excited about having more expertise based at our school sites as well. We have done some adjustments with staff this year as we have continued to look at the staffing needs. And we're happy that our enrollments are down in our facilities because that means young people are hopefully learning and thriving in their own schools. However, that does bring some challenges and some opportunities for us as we provide the education in Camp Kemp, Canyon Oaks, Hillcrest, and Gateway. And just so everybody knows, we put a lot of emphasis in Gateway this year. We've heard from many of our districts that they have seen an increase of students having social, emotional, and some mental health needs that have been unmet. And we've also seen a large increase in the number of students that have been demonstrating some needs in the area of some behavioral missteps on campus. And so we continue to work with our districts to hopefully have the right support so students can stay in their district of residence, as we call it. But we've also created Gateway to be a model of a kind of restoration place for students who might benefit from a smaller learning environment, some more active mental health supports, and get some different opportunities that may not exist on a comprehensive campus. So that's where we are, and it's still in transition. We're building it. We're building the plane as we're flying it, as they say. But we've seen some really promising outcomes, and we only have a few students right now. I believe we're at 10. Our goal is, well, our capacity is to serve 60, but we continue to get more and more referrals. And again, in part because we're seeing more and more students that either have such significant learning gaps or maybe some needs that were not addressed during the pandemic that now schools are recognizing the student would benefit from a smaller environment. So we're happy to have had the support of our board and our leadership to move in this direction. It's unfortunate that our young people are oftentimes experiencing anxiety or distress and are in need of something else, but we're happy that we've been able to build something that hopefully can meet those needs.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions for Janae? Roxana, did you? Oh no, you had a hooray sign up there, okay. Okay, thanks so much, Janae. Sorry, we didn't call on you earlier. Okay, moving along then. Paul, would you like to give us an update on the project to communicate with elected officials?
Yes, thank you. So Monroe and I met with the San Mateo City Council member and Deputy Mayor Rick Bonilla, as well as Noelia Corso that he invited to the meeting. And that meeting went extremely well. They are very supportive of this commission's workings to improve how youth are being treated and services being provided in the community. They were very supportive of the resolution. And Noelia Corso is currently a part of the San Mateo Foster City School Board of Trustees. And she's also running for Board of Supervisor Carol Groom's position, who is terming out. So yeah, we have a Latina who's running for that. And she was very supportive again of this resolution and how we are moving toward changing the way we think about treatment. And we have also been in contact. I don't want to miss this, that Miss Corso is also a member of the REACH Coalition, a group that is advocating for equity for people of color in the county of San Mateo. They're an excellent group. I'm also a participant, a member of that coalition. Really awesome work that they do. And then we've also been in contact with Ray Mueller from Menlo Park City Council member, he's also running for Board of Supervisors, Mr. Don Horsley's seat, who is also terming out. And we are in the process of setting up a meeting to be able to share the commission's work with him and make him aware of the work that we do in the county. And then we also have a meeting coming up that we are currently in the talks with setting up with Michael Smith, another city council member here in Redwood City. So once we have those meetings, we will definitely provide that type of, provide the insight on how that went at the next meeting. So any questions that anyone may have regarding these meetings that took place, please feel free.
Johanna, no, that's a thumbs up. Okay.
Yay.
Thanks, Paul. A lot of work this last month, it sounds like. Okay, let's move on to Pureport then. Melissa and Austin, can you bring us up to speed?
I think Austin should be the one. Are you on screen, Austin?
Apologies, I had to go get rid of a spider in my room. What was up?
Austin, would you like to give the Pureport update?
Sure. So we've been having a lot of meetings and we've been doing a lot since our last meeting. Most recently, we met with Supervisor Canepa and Supervisor Pine, and it looks like we might get some Board of Supervisors funding for the program. Also, we have 3 different Board of Supervisors in the county who support the project. So that's from the Board of Supervisors perspective. Is there anything else that we should highlight?
I don't think so. We are continuing to try to figure out what our relationship will be with YTJ, and we will have something probably to discuss at the next meeting. But things are going well. Karen, you good?
Any comments, Karen, on the project?
Yeah, I would just like to say that Austin and Melissa, as I think I said in a letter, have worked tirelessly to form alliances across the county and have met with so many stakeholders. They've done an impressive job, and it looks like this project is going to happen. It's the specifics of the project are being decided, but it feels very, very positive and very tangible. So well done, you guys. I'm excited to work with you.
Great. Well, thanks for joining the team, Karen.
And I also want to thank Karen, Susan, and Amaya, who've been great on this project too.
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, moving on to the dashboard. We've made some progress here. So Armand and Deborah, will you fill us in?
Yeah, would it be possible for me to get screen share privileges?
You have them. You're all set.
Nice. Well, here we go. This is what the dashboard now looks like. And I will also include a link in chat so you guys can see it on your own devices. All right. So I believe Deborah and Tony were going to talk specifics on the data, and then I can just show you the graphs as they mentioned them.
Great. Well, we've shown the monthly data before. Why don't you switch over to the annual graphs? The first set of annual graphs are really just a summary of the graphs that we're doing monthly. There are a couple of new ones at the bottom, I believe. Scroll all the way down. So from the annual probation reports, we were also able to capture information on recidivism, as well as total use supervised by probation and the different breakouts of those groups. And so those those are actually done on a fiscal year, not an annual year. So those are July 1st to June 30th. The data comes out every year. All the other graphs are like the ones we have in the monthly data, and they run annually. It is our intent to post a link to this to the JJDPC website, and we will be updating the monthly data as it comes in. As we mentioned before, other than the information that is provided to us by probation at our monthly meetings, unfortunately, most of the information gets batched, so we get it about quarterly. So as we get it, we will update probably 2 or 3 months at a time, but we will keep that as up to date as we can. Armand has generally offered to help make sure that we keep this in prime shape. And I want to thank him for all of his hard work on these graphs. They look great. He did an amazing job. Thank you so much for putting all the time and effort into making this happen.
I think a wonderful aspect of this too, you can click on any of the graph and actually see the specific statistic as well as just the bar chart. Which is, I think, very helpful. So well done. So this will be the final dashboard project update, and hopefully, as Deborah said, we'll have a link to it from the websites shortly.
There's a comment from Melissa in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, my comment is just on the chart called Youth Who Complete Probation. I would try to be a little bit more specific about whether you mean post-dispositional probation, meaning formal probation, or informal probation contract. I think
I'm
you
not
mean
sure that that goes into that level of detail.
Okay.
But we will double check. And if it does,
or maybe do a definition of terms, you know.
Will do.
The definitions and some of these are more complete than others, and we will try to work on any that seem, if there's more information available, we can add it in there.
Super impressive, by the way. I just blown away. So thank you and good job, everybody.
Well, thank you, Armand. Okay, that's great. Let's move on to the project to increase school attendance.
Yes, our committee last met on September 17th. And there's a great deal that the County Office of Education is doing in this area. So I think we're going to probably be rejiggering again. One of the things we were told is that the youth, as I think I said earlier, youth don't remember how to behave. They've been having fights, weapons on campus. And they've had some problems with SARBs doing SARBs on Zoom. So we need to investigate that more, find out more about that.
So you're thinking, Susan, of changing kind of the deliverables based on recent experiences?
Yeah, I think County Office of Education is doing a lot of this work, and I've asked them how can we support them so that we're not trying to do the same thing that they're trying to do.
Good.
So that's where we are with that. As far as the diversion program, I think we're pretty close. I have two police departments I haven't been able to talk with yet, but we have 32 cities and towns and entities that have law enforcement, and we've checked with pretty much all of them. I think Austin has 2 left, and I think maybe Deborah has 1. So I think what we're finding is there were some police departments that used to have diversion programs, and they're still on the books, but they're not doing them. They aren't active. So what we found is that there are really only 4 diversion programs that are active. Redwood City, the city of San Mateo, Probations, and the Sheriff's Department. So I think it makes sense to take a look and see how we can get them to cover the other cities. Maybe that may be one of the recommendations that comes out of this project. Do you have anything to add, Austin or Deborah?
No.
Nothing for me.
Do you think the other police departments are receptive to the idea of building on what's done in San Mateo and Redwood City?
I would say,
we have.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
Susan.
Deborah. Go ahead.
I spoke with Chief Keen about this not too long ago, and he said that he said that Chief Manheimer and he actually proposed the San Mateo model to the other cities. They went around and did a road and pony show, and that they had no takers, that no one was interested. So I think it'll be an uphill climb. I think those that want it have it. Those that are too small to have them are relying on our sheriff's office in other areas. It doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
Well, there were a couple of ones that I talked with who used to have them, and they lost them because they lost the funding. They didn't have the funding. And I think I really like the way the Sheriff's Department and Redwood City are handling it, because when the child successfully completes that contract, there's no record anywhere. If they go through the city of San Mateo or probation, they have a jacket with probation that would need to be sealed when they are 18. So there's some subtle.
Susan, are you?
Sorry, go ahead.
Susan, to clarify, are you saying that if a child is in the San Mateo Police Department diversion program, they have a probation docket?
Well, they have a probation officer there.
Well, that's not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah, well, I haven't asked that question specifically of them, but I believe they do have some record with probation in there.
Thank you.
Also, some shut down because of liability issues that were run up until early 2000s. It was either liability or funding were the 2 main causes of why they could no longer run programs. I talked to a couple of individuals who said that they wish they could start a program. They don't have the funding for it now, but they were really excited about the opportunity to have a peer court in the county, and they did want to work with our program.
Yeah, the peer court's going to be another way of doing diversion that will be available to any youth who are in San Mateo County. So a lot of these things that we're doing all have connections to each other.
Yes, I was noticing that. That's good.
I think we're going to need to really look at that and try and make sure that where there is serendipity, that there are the connections made.
we want to make sure that we leverage the work we're doing and coordinate it. That's okay. Excellent. Moving on to item 7, then social media ad hoc committee. At the last meeting, we had the commission voted to establish a subcommittee to review social media policy before carrying it any forward. And as I think I sent an email out to all commissioners, we've established that committee. It's an ad hoc committee that's been set up, and its purpose is exclusively to establish guidelines for both posting and commenting on JJDPC social media accounts. We had our first meeting on Saturday. We'll meet again this coming Saturday. And the goal and the intent is to have a list of guidelines available to discuss and vote at our October meeting. We're looking forward to doing that.
Tony, I just realized, Johanna, you have your hand raised. Was there a question?
Yes, thank you. Tony, now that we are down one commissioner, does that mean that we need to remove somebody from our social media ad hoc?
No, I think we're okay. I checked into that, Johanna. We have to have less than a quorum, and a quorum is half plus 1. So if we're down to 12 commissioners, the quorum would be 7, and we have 6 on the social media committee. So we've just made it.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions? I'm sorry, I'm not picking up all the hands. Okay, let me move on to item 8, then the formation of a 2022 nominating committee. Our operating policies call for the chairs to appoint a nominating committee at the end of the year for them to, the purpose is for the nominating committee to develop a slate of officers for the upcoming year. So our goal here would be to have a slate of officers to the commission in October and vote on them in November. Now, the officers we're talking about are a chair or chairs, as Deborah and I have shared this year, vice chair of membership, which is related to recruiting and onboarding, and a vice president of administration, or vice chair, sorry, of administration, which is responsible for minutes and making sure our data is current and updated. So we've asked Melissa to chair this committee, and if anybody is interested in joining her in this effort, please let Deborah and me know so we can complete finishing the committee.
You can put my name in there.
Paul, is that you, Paul? I can't see. Who said that?
Yes, it's Paul.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And anybody else can let us know over the next few days. That would be terrific. So if anyone would like to nominate a person, a commissioner for these roles, please feel comfortable doing so. And we also encourage self-nominations. So you will be hearing from Melissa, within the next week, and we'll move forward on that. So we want to make sure we have a new set of officers in place before we take a break for the year so they can be working on 2022 plans. Okay, any questions on that? All right. Let's move on to our commissioner report outs. Youth Commission.
Okay, so hi everyone. We, the Youth Commission actually had our first work group meeting as well as our first regular meeting this month. So we were given our subcommittee assignments and liaison assignments. And we also chose our subcommittee leadership positions. And we just got a presentation on a resolution on sexual assault from an aide from Supervisor Canapa's office.
And the group is going to take that on to work on that project.
What was that project again? Excuse me, if you can repeat that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it was a resolution on sexual assault. I can put more information in the chat if you'd like that.
Yes, please.
Thank you, man. Great job.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to membership. Melissa?
I think we have, you cover the nomination process. We have 2 open positions that we'll be filling for, Doug and Victor's, that I'm aware of. And that's, I'm sorry.
Okay. You'll be busy, it sounds like. Let's move on to legislation. Paul and Karen, what can you tell us?
Paul, do you want to add anything before I jump in, or?
No, please take it,
Okay.
Karen.
So we heard from Ron Reyes about the AB 624 Youth Fair Process Act that was approved and will go into law January 1. So that's great. 3 other pieces of legislation that we have been tracking for some further progress this year have all been enrolled and presented to the governor. So he just needs to sign them. So fingers crossed that that happens, but that's good news. And I'll send a little written update along. Paul, do you know when it goes to the governor? He has 12 days, right?
I am not sure about that, but I could find out.
Oh, no, don't worry. I
Okay.
mean, we'll probably, we can follow up with Ron too, or we'll hear. I mean, I just wondered because it's kind of new to me too, but I think he has 12 days, probably. It doesn't include Sundays. I know that. So
Right.
just that.
And I'm pretty sure he's going to sign them all.
Yeah. Okay, good. You've got that inside information. Thank you. Johanna?
The beginning of October is usually when he signs all the lead. So this next week, very busy.
Okay, good. Well, this is good news because, that means 4 important bills that we've been looking at will come into law for next year. So that's good news. And then as we had said before, we'll start a more formal process with Ron discussing how we can support the bills that he can flag for us. And obviously we'll also pay attention to our other stakeholders and see. And Paul, you've got your finger on the pulse there, and we can decide together what we want to track and support.
And also create, because I am advising to Senator Becker. So the things that we discuss here, if there are great ideas, definitely I present those to our meetings, and I'll be presenting this information to tomorrow's meeting.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you, Paul and Karen. Moving on to marketing. Johanna, what?
Don't have much to report. Our social media program went on halt in the end of July, so I don't have much to report. I actually don't have anything to report on marketing.
Okay, and you wanted to call our attention to other commissions in San Mateo County having retreats, and this is something that we would not consider fully until we have our new officers in place. But Joanna, why don't you tell us what other commissions have done?
Thank you. I put this slide together very quickly, so I hope there's not any typos. Basically, many commissions in San Mateo County do an annual retreat or an annual special meeting. It's my understanding, Tony advised me that this commission actually had done this at one point. And what I'm finding is that there is a lot of things that happened throughout the year that don't often get a chance to be addressed at a meeting. Our agendas are packed. There's a lot going on. I would like to see if the commission as a whole is interested in resuming annual retreats and interested in beginning the process so we can utilize this tool and still be following the Brown Act. And if this is something that folks are interested in.
Could I hold one of my restorative circles there?
I think that's a great idea, both to Johanna and Paul.
I think it's a great idea, and I'd love to participate in a restorative circle.
Yay!
I agree. I got to work on the youth commission retreat. I think it was a great experience. I do have one question. Do we know why they stopped holding the annual retreat for the JDPC?
Yes, we had a retreat 2 years ago. That was the only one that has been in place since I've been a member. And we decided in the last 2 years to replace the retreat with working on the strategy and interviews and meetings as a way of aligning commissioners around a central purpose and mission. So it was just a different approach.
But the two are not exclusive.
No, they're not. And certainly they're not exclusive at this point.
And I believe it's the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Commission and the Youth Commission. One did their retreat over 2 days virtually, and one did it in person. So we have many options, and I'm looking forward to planning something with all of you.
Well, I think we're getting some positive feedback here and some great ideas. So I think it's a good thing to continue thinking about. As mentioned, I don't think we would put any planning process in place until we named our new officers so they could fully participate in this. But I think some great ideas have come up. I love the idea of a restorative circle too.
Tony, if I might just say, I know at the very beginning you had something for the Brown Act and then something else got put in there. Could you circle back to that on the agenda? There was a mention and then we went into.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's a new document came out from the San Mateo County Council advising us that we could continue to do remote meetings past October if at commission meetings we establish a resolution that we think it would be unsafe to meet in person. And so that would enable us, if we voted on the resolution every month, starting in October, we could continue holding remote meetings until that law completes, sunsets in, let's see, January of 2024. So we could take it on a month-by-month basis if we vote on this resolution that meeting and we feel meeting in person would be unsafe.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I know we had some people come on late, so thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have a couple minutes left. Paul, you might want to ask your question about YSC to Jahan. Jahan, can you respond to Paul?
Is that regarding my questions on the pillow?
Yes, it is. I said
Okay.
we'd come back to it if we had time
Yes,
at the
yeah,
end. and
absolutely. I'm
we have
curious
time.
about that one.
I know Joanna brought that up on Friday, so I'm gonna look into it. I know in the past we did pass out pillows that were like more puncture resistant and things like that. I'm not sure what has happened since, so I will definitely look into it and have a report back next month.
Okay.
Ms.
great.
Clark, Pelican Bay shoe, we got pillows. Come on now.
Yeah, no, we did. And so I'm not sure when that stopped.
Yeah.
I do know we had, special pillows. And then at one time, we had mattresses that had pillows built in.
Oh, wow.
And so we've had different things. So I'm not sure what has happened since.
Okay.
So I'll follow up.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments or discussion points?
I had a question.
Yes. Karen.
I was just wondering, is there a place where the commission's prior reports reside?
Yes.
Okay.
They reside, well, there are two places. Our website has some reports, annual reports, for example, and other things will be brought onto the website over time. But there's also our Google Drive, where you can find all of our prior reports and working documents. Are you familiar with that, Karen?
I am familiar with Google Drive, but is there a special Google Drive for the JJDPC that I need permission for, or?
Okay, yes, you should definitely know about it and use it and take full advantage. Tons of information on it. And I think what we need to do is send out a reminder to everybody and a link to how to use that drive, because it's filled with great information on all aspects of our work.
I'll send it to you
Wonderful.
now.
Okay.
My apologies that you're not, you weren't aware of it.
Maybe I missed it somewhere. I just looked at a previous minutes and saw that there was a report on existing transition programs. And I was thinking, I would like to read that, but I don't know where to get it. So it's probably there.
We will
It's
get
shared
it
with
to-
your SBC Global email.
Thank
But
you.
I'll share it with your other email as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're sharing the link to it, Austin? Would you send it to all commissioners just as, in case anybody needs a reminder?
Is there anyone else who doesn't have access to it currently?
Okay, don't shame me. Come on.
All right, I'll take one for the team. I need one too.
And me.
Okay.
I think I do too.
Yeah, it's a fabulous source of information. Okay. With that, well, thank you, everybody. I think, we're doing terrific work here. Everybody is busy and we're seeing good results, and I'm really proud to be associated with all of you. This is terrific. So thank you for a good meeting and the work you've been doing, and we'll see you in October.
Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Watch that new Michael Myers movie coming out in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye. Good
Bye,
night.
everyone.
Good
Nice
night.
seeing you. Bye.